All right. 11/19/2024, 7:31, EDA now in session. Call to order. And approval of the agenda. Anybody go look through it and see what you're going on? Head nodder.
Motion to approve the agenda.
Consent? What's that?
Motion to approve the agenda.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye. We.
All opposed? Motion carries. Open forum. Is there anybody on the computer?
You skipped one.
Consent agenda? Oh,
Which would be the minutes.
consent agenda. Approval of minutes, October 15th. Did we just approve that?
Do we approve the agenda?
You approved the agenda.
Okay. Now do we have to approve the consent agenda, or do we just have to roll with it?
I have a correction. I have a correction to make to the minutes.
Go ahead.
As much as I'd like to say different, I was not at the last meeting, and I'm listed as present.
Okay. And what are we going to do with that?
Nothing.
Update the minutes.
Correction of the roll call.
Correction to roll call. Got it. Hi, Jack.
Hey, sorry. This was the first public thing I've done in the last 40 days.
Oh, boy.
I've got shingles in my left eye 40 days ago. And it's been horrible, but
I was wondering why you're
I'm here. I'm not contagious. I saw you scooting away. So.
Oh, no worries, man. Let's move back that way.
Sorry. A little late. Trying to make it work.
I don't know crap from the peanut.
I did
department.
vote in this. That's the only two things I've been out of the house for.
Okay. So we have a correction to the minutes. Have they been corrected? Because he was not.
They will be.
They will be.
Okay, got it. Did I miss anything this time? We're good to go? So, open forum, anybody here for open forum? Anybody online for open forum?
Nobody on
Nobody online. Old business discussion, Minnesota bonding bill to purchase property.
Let's see, so last meeting we had Senator Hoffman, who just gave a great presentation on bonding. That kind of led to an internal discussion of requesting bonding to purchase property in the old village for redevelopment. There are some limitations with that. So with state bonding, the property has to be acquired for a public use and kept for a public use for its usable life. So if the intent is to use state bonding dollars to buy property, it has to be for a public use, whether it's a parking lot or a park, or anything that you can imagine that would stay with the city. So the idea of if we were to purchase property and redevelop it for a private use, we would have to pay the state back for those dollars.
Okay.
Did that sum it up?
Yes, Your Honor. Well, technically, you can't get the state dollars to start with. So if you're going to purchase property for the intention of transferring it to a private party, then you wouldn't qualify for the bond, right? So the Department of Management and Budget, that's the department that writes the contracts, essentially, that gives the bond money. They won't write that contract, so you just can't get that money. Does that make sense?
For bonding, but how about for a cash give?
Cash is different. Cash has no, whatever rules are attached to the cash is just kind of simply what either has been put into the bill by the senator, or the House representative, or some other means, but it's not governed the same way as a bond.
So we got a 50-50 chance.
For the cash, you refer to it cash bonding or cash, not cash bond?
Is your mic on?
Cash is just cash.
Is your mic
Here's
on?
money. Enjoy.
Chris?
Yeah.
So it's not a bond, it's just cash.
Right. So a bond is we're borrowing.
Right.
We're basically playing banker for you. The cash is
It's a gift.
Here's money.
Yeah.
And you can spend it how you want.
So the congressman would just ask for money for us for whatever reason, public development or
Yeah. So
economic development or whatever.
there's an example of a cash. It's not a bond, but a gift wouldn't be what they would want it to be termed. I'm not sure what the word would be that they would want to use. But an example of where that was done more recently was, I believe, 2 legislative cycles ago. There's a ethnic slaughterhouse in South St. Paul, and they want to move to a different location, and so they basically gave them $8 million in the state budget to find a new piece of property to move. This is a private property owner, right, with a private business, but because they determined that there was some sort of various cultural significant values or whatever the reasoning was, ultimately it made it into a legislative bill and was approved. That's an example of essentially a cash gift. You know, he has to follow certain requirements in terms of where he has to buy the land and some other details, but that would be the example. There isn't, that's straight private, right? That could also apply to an EDA that's used to purchase property that it will ultimately end up in the private sector. So same.
2 other questions. One, if we were to use this property for public purpose, we could do the bond
Yeah, and so
to buy the property.
an example could be if there's a public piece of a project. So let's say that you are trying to incentivize private development in the area, and you want to use some sort of public amenity to, encourage development. So potentially what it could look like is you use the bonding money to purchase land that you know is going to be public, whether that's park or, I don't know, whatever other amenity that you might be looking at in this particular example. You apply the bonding money to that parcel, and then EDA money, city money, other sources of income or sources of funding to purchase the property that you're going to ultimately transfer to private property owners.
Okay, so the second question that's kind of related is, if we purchased the property and then did some kind of public development, could we get a bond for that public development for more money? As an example, the property, it's like 150, I think. Let's say we wanted $2 million. Could we buy the property for 150 and ask for a $2 million bond for public development? You know, some kind of, let's say a park or a kayak launch or whatever.
So you'd have to show that you actually need the $2 million.
Yeah.
And generally, I think, don't quote me on this, but I think it's up to 50% of a project that the bond would pay for.
Yeah, so we'd have to pay for half.
So
the project.
I would
Okay.
assume that the project was a $4 million project.
Okay, so whatever we do, we'd have to pay for half of it, whether it's buy the property or something else.
Correct.
Or,
Yep.
okay. I'm just brainstorming.
So
That makes sense.
in the context of this property that's identified in the request, I think the idea is that we bundle those 4 properties together and do something with it. But if that portion of it was bonded, then we would need to make it a public parking lot or something like that.
Yes.
To make it a park.
Or
yes,
park, yeah.
Sure. But,
Both,
I mean,
yeah.
I don't know if we were thinking about park when we started going down this trail. So in the context of how it was written, it would have to be something like public parking for a commercial development, and we would have to hold that.
Correct.
Yeah, I mean, I've been thinking since, maybe it's some kind of water recreation facility, since we're right there on the river. You got a water recreation facility, whatever that is, I'm just making it up, right? And that draws economic development because it's drawing people into the city for that water recreation facility. And then you've got a boat launch right across the street. So it seems like there's some
Continuity there.
Continuity, yeah, that's the right word. Just a thought.
I mean, if you think of Champlain Crossings, and I think Senator Hoffman indicated that that was funded through bonding, and yet, I mean, yeah, it is a public place. They have a amphitheater there, but they also have private business there. That Jensen's Market, there's a new restaurant going up there, and so obviously there's some mixed use there, whether how they use that bonding and how they described it,
But we do have, what, 4 parcels? So, I mean, I suppose you could do some parcels as public and some as private, maybe, I don't know.
So on, what we have on the screen is the adopted master plan for the historic village. The Lent property that we're buying is here. So that includes these 3 red buildings that are intended for commercial use. And then the green space that has access to the river.
Council, how are we positioned on these 4 other pieces? How are we positioned on these 4 other pieces?
Sorry, was that question to me?
Council?
Yeah.
So the Lent parcels? Yes, so we have a signed purchase agreement. The Phase 1 environmental study has been ordered as well as the survey.
Yes.
We're waiting for those to come back, just to confirm that there isn't some sort of unusual thing that we aren't familiar with, or that's an unknown right now. Right now, the plan is to close by the end of this year. I don't anticipate there being any problems with that happening.
We all in agreement with this group about this project?
About the request, yeah. I think we need to try to steer it more toward the cash side of things, because we're going to have a lot more flexibility.
We hope.
How it gets developed.
I mean, project is whole downtown, this is our spectrum of work in the area. Brewery, restaurant, something in that area.
I mean, should we, if we have ideas of what we want to do, should we think about hiring someone to enhance those ideas? I mean, I'm not an architect or.
Well, we want to get it shovel ready for someone to do that. We don't want to
Okay.
go and start spending money on somebody's.
No,
I
I'm
don't
not talking
think-
about the
I don't
private
think we
piece.
should
I didn't
do
know
that.
if we were going to do anything public, more.
Private.
Sure. So what, the first step is we need to complete the survey and find out how much land is below
Right.
the floodplain elevation. What do we have to work with? And then we can start doing more brainstorming of what would fit here.
Okay, makes sense.
So, good catch. We'll just have to do that later in our life. Okay. Guys down here, you okay with this?
No concerns on my end. I'm good.
Would the cash be a grant? Would that be the proper term?
Yeah, it would be more of a grant, because it's you don't have to pay it back.
Sure.
Versus the bond, you do have to pay back.
They call them forgivable loans. If-
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it kind of depends on what bucket they end up putting you in terms of what term they use. But it's
Has everybody
all-
had a chance to read it, the ask? Okay. That was pretty straightforward.
I did not, but I'm okay.
Okay. All right, any more discussion on that?
So just for my clarity, there's not a motion on this, I guess, but I guess the direction is to work towards I'm going to call it a cash award from the legislature. Cash award from the legislature.
We're hoping.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
And if there is a bond component to this, maybe we can take a section of this and make it a small park in cooperation with this whole project. Maybe whether it be parking, whether it be park bench, I don't know.
Yeah.
More spitballing for now. Like you said, we need to make sure that it's buildable and our P's and Q's are dotted.
Yep.
So walk before we run.
Yep.
And I think if we were thinking, as Jack suggested, about anything related to the river, we want to make sure we're in alignment with the water trail work that's going on.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Because that's I think that's looking more at the landing area
Right.
and collaborating with the DNR on that piece, but this
Yeah,
could
but I bet
change
they'd
that
be
thinking,
pretty
I guess.
interested if we bought that land. I agree with you.
Yeah,
We would probably draw direct parks in on this too, wouldn't we?
certainly.
Yeah. I have no issues with that. I mean, that's the point of this thing, so whether you have water access or trail access or driving access, let's make it happen for everybody. Does that work for you?
Yeah, I just want to make sure we're not going down 2 paths here.
Oh,
with the-
yeah, right.
With the water piece of it.
And if we had public docks, at that point, we could possibly use that bonding money for docks expenditures?
Yes, so the bond rules are, it has to have a public purpose, it has to be owned by by a public entity, and it has to be a capital expenditure. So I would say that a dock would meet that requirement, but that would be something to confirm with Department of Management and Budget.
Okay. Any more further discussion on this?
I was just thinking about our meeting with Senator Hoffman, and of course, one of the things he said is we should be in contact with Congressman Nadeau, because he was elected.
Yes, he was elected, and he has carried the bill, and he has signed up on it.
Okay,
That's as far as I knew. Did anything change?
No.
Yeah, no,
All right.
he's working with it.
all right.
So this will follow the House and the Senate up at the same time, and the bill comes together on the bonding bill, is it?
Yeah, but it's not gonna qualify for bonding, so we need I think there are two separate bills that Hoffman had mentioned, potentially, so it was bonding and then cash.
It won't qualify for the
It
bond.
won't qualify for bonding,
So that's out of the picture.
yeah.
Unless we.
Hold on, she wants to say something.
Well, yeah, so if the ask is to purchase property to sell it to private, it will not qualify. So there probably would need to be a tweak to the current ask to make it work for bonding, and that is focusing on a public infrastructure piece of the project. So whether that's a park,
Water
a
trails.
boat, yeah, exactly, that kind of a piece. So that would need to be incorporated. The cash ask would be, frankly, what is already drafted. And then the other piece is, and I don't know what the timing of this looks like, this would be probably a question for the senator, is to see if you can get on the bonding tour. So what happens, and John and I were talking about this, and we think it's in the spring,
Yeah.
or really early spring, like March. They do a tour around the entire state for all the people who are asking for money, right? And you show them, here's what we're thinking, so you can kind of see the area here, you can see what we're imagining, and that would be another ask. They do those every other year, but we got messed up in the last legislative cycle because they didn't do a bonding bill. So I'm honestly not sure where they're at, in their typical schedule. They haven't been on the typical schedule since like 2021. So I don't know when they're planning on doing that exactly.
So depending on how we word this, it could bond.
Yeah, if you focus on the public pieces,
Okay.
yeah, it could be eligible for bonding for that.
But regardless, if it doesn't, we still need the help of both the congressman and the senator to apply for a grant.
Yes,
Yep.
for sure.
So either way, if it gets shot down,
Well, he applied two ways,
yeah,
the bond and the grant.
yeah.
So they're already in write-up, they call it?
Mhm.
So as far as I know, that they're already at the register and they're being written.
Okay.
That make sense?
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, I just think as it was written, it won't go very far down the bonding trail. It'll have
Okay.
to be on the cash side unless we change the request, and I think that's what you're saying.
Do we have the right to change the request?
Yes, of course.
Maybe we should review.
We can reach out and make that happen. What should we make it say?
Well, it depends on whether or not you want to sell it or you're going to make it a park.
Yeah.
I think
Right.
the original intention here was to sell it.
Right.
That was the whole reason for pursuing the property.
But I mean, there may be parcels that are more fit for public use and parcels that are more fit for selling, so
Yeah.
you look at a combination? Because there's some parcels that aren't gonna be buildable. I'm sure, but based on just looking at it, they're below the floodplain, there's no
Right.
way.
and
I
then
mean,
we
you can put
talk,
asphalt there, you can put docks, but there's no way you're gonna build anything.
So move some properties around which best serves the whole project, including,
Maybe we won't know that until all the stuff comes back, I guess, that you talked about, but I can tell you by looking at it, I'm pretty sure that's the case.
so still premature conversation for us.
So,
Yeah. Okay. Closes up old business. New business, discussion. Abandoned, damaged utilities, public right of way. One of our asks on our website is, hey, we want you here, if you just look at the website, it's like, we're open for business, the whole deal. And we're not very inviting when you drive around and see what's in this packet. This ain't just an incident of Balsam Lane, this is all over the place. And if you look at that, that's pretty crazy. How do we get the PUC to push on the copper guys to do their job, get their stuff in there, out of there, fix it, whatever? Do we need a motion on that?
How the state's gonna go after the utility companies. I can't answer how the PUC or the Public Utilities Commission is gonna go after private utilities specific to Dayton. You know, this is a section out of the city code where, you know, the city has the ability of requiring utilities to either repair or replace abandoned utilities, or the city has the option of taking control over that. I don't think we have any intention of taking ownership of utility boxes, but we can require that they be repaired or removed.
So how do we get that started?
So the first is knowing that it's a problem, and then the second is just doing it. So contacting the utilities, and taking an inventory of which ones look like this, I guess.
How about just yes?
Yeah.
You drive around the
Yeah.
city and I see them all over the place. So you guys tell me if I'm jumping up the wrong tree here.
So do we need some kind of inventory of these?
It is, so
busted up things?
it's a matter, you know, it's a code violation, it's a matter of just finding time for staff to go around. So I think, you know, from a code violation standpoint, if you're looking for something specific, you're gonna find something wrong with every property in the city. So
Right.
we can do that for utility boxes.
Well, I understand they're low voltage. And even though they are low voltage, it still creates a risk and a hazard to the city or the people or kids around it. If you look across that road there, that's all about little kids and stuff, and that's all open copper. So this needs to be accelerated to a situation where we don't have any liability, and this is a city.
Well, that's probably a phone line, that's all that is.
24 volts DC.
Is it?
That's enough to shock somebody.
Okay,
Okay, so do we need a motion to send this up to council so they can look at it, or how do we do this?
I think just direction to staff.
Direction of staff?
Yeah.
Okay.
That's fine. Everybody all right with this? Okay. It just looks like crap.
No, it's a safety hazard for sure, even if it's only low volt.
Okay. Moving on, 6B, business assistance flyer. If you looked at some of the other sheets in here from other cities and how they produce their content, let's spitball some ideas on, do we, our website is effective.
I don't know if I'd say it's effective, it depends if anybody looks at it.
If anybody looks at it?
Yeah.
Yeah, there's that. So the question being is, do we want this on a Champlin-Dayton press flyer gets sent out? Do we want to set this as our own card? Do we want to target businesses? Do we want to target everybody? And maybe there's that some person who's in his house who wants to elevate to the next level business to make that happen. What do you guys think about that?
I mean, I could see once or twice a year mailing some kind of flyer to the households to say, hey, we're here and this is what we do. The households and businesses, I guess. The only reason the household would be like people that, probably own businesses or whatever, they live in houses, so.
Or change locations?
Yeah, or maybe bring their business to Dayton
Okay.
from somewhere else.
Do they ask?
I mean, it's not super hard to send a flyer through the U.S. mail. I mean, you can pick the zip codes. I've done it before for my businesses.
The indicias and the locations. I think last time I checked, about $600 gets us about every home person, general mailer flyer. Not anymore?
No. Closer to a couple thousand.
Really?
Something like that.
It's been a while since I ran for office, but
Well, we do get the Dayton communicator.
Yeah, if they read
get that at home. So, I mean, could you add a piece to that?
Use that list or put it in there.
Yeah, it's probably, well, I don't know if it's
Cheaper.
every address or how that's, divided up, but, that's already done. This could be an add to that. If it would work as a separate document or just more pages on that one related to the EDA, but it could go out in that.
Well, certainly
That
would.
same mailer, but, yeah, if you've sent any campaign postcards out, it's 2,500-ish just for the postage on it, to get all the houses in Dayton. And a few in Maple Grove because of the way our zip codes are busted.
Do we have 3 zip codes? Maple Grove, Osseo, and Dayton?
Could we get a page in the
We
Dayton
have 3 zip
communicator?
codes.
you
Yeah.
think?
3?
Yeah.
I guess city council would make that decision for us to have a page, well, not a standing page, but occasionally, maybe once a year, have a page in the Dayton communicator.
Is there currently a QR code of that people can scan?
We've had one in the past for, I'm trying to think of what, I mean, we've got one for the HoliDayton that I'm going to talk about next, so. I know that goes above my knowledge of technology of what we have, but,
And how was the feedback with that, the QR code?
I'm sorry?
How was the feedback with the QR code? Was it a success?
I've not heard anything.
The only reason that comes to mind, I feel like with social media and everything, everyone's transitioning to QR codes. Even at work, we're starting to use that more now. Flyers, it's 4 words, and then a QR code on the very bottom.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I'm throwing that out there.
So do we want to tag team the Dayton Press, or do we want to add our own? What's the call?
It'd be
What do you mean
cheaper
by
to go
Dayton
through the
Press?
communicator.
Or communicator?
Communicator.
I keep thinking it's the Dayton Champlain Press.
Yeah.
Well,
That'd be a good first start.
I think that would be a good first step, and it also would introduce the EDA to the community. I mean, prior to be asked to serve,
Was there?
we have an EDA, and I'm sure that there are many people, in my neighborhood that would, so what you doing, Dave? Well, I just got the EDA. Well, what is that?
Yep.
Then you explain. So, and these aren't dumb people either, but I think the communicator would be an excellent. However, kind of going back to your original discussion of this, do we have a page like this?
We can put one in there.
But I mean, is there something already made out?
No.
A website, you could steal the information off of there.
Think more like
Yeah.
this? More
Yeah,
color, more
the actual
glitz, glamour?
physical piece that,
Just take the info off the website. I mean, we might need
Oh.
to add to it, but.
Yeah, I'll put something together. So this isn't going to be in every communicator, so it's going to be
Just-
when,
right,
when
maybe
it
in the
fits.
spring or.
Yeah.
And I don't know if even if we're going that route, which I really like, would that be a good time for the communicator in the city of Dayton to allow the EDA to discuss what, to the public, what we're doing, or, here's some of the things that your EDA has been working on, or,
Yeah, kind of a summary of actions
Right.
within the last year or recently, yeah.
Public awareness.
yes, it's just, because the more visibility you have within the population of Dayton, hey, I'd love my company to move here, why? Because I can bicycle to work, stuff like that. My neighbor Todd, eventually he's gonna have to, his wife's taking that business over, eventually, that can't sustain itself in the garage.
So with this awareness, do we want to do, we got these, for instances in here, they got pictures of the crew, they got what they do, they're all niced up and dressed up. That's something we want to do as well, so that the public awareness has, yeah.
It's got to fit on one page,
Yeah, you just need to prioritize what you're gonna communicate.
yeah. So I can figure out what will fit.
One page?
Yep,
How big's the page?
8.5 by 11,
Can we get a bigger page?
no.
Okay, well, again, that we want to tell everybody that we're televised, they can tune in, they can catch the videos, this is what we do, this is how we do it, this is your group, we can do a group photo. If you're okay with that.
Once my eye gets better.
We've been talking about this for how many years to do this? And now it's like, okay, let's pull this pin. Right, Jack? 8 years we've been trying to talk about this. Well, let's get it done.
In terms of,
I'm there, I said, just till my eye's done. I hope it's a few weeks or so.
We'll get you the Ray Charles kit.
Yeah, otherwise I got the sunglasses on.
Okay. All right, that makes sense, everybody? We want to do that, so we want direction for, let's make a page for staff to move forward on that. We get a group photo in front of the,
and we use up a lot of space on our one page.
we only get one page? The whole city gets one page?
No,
the
EDA gets one.
EDA would get one page.
You just do a little
It's just
photo.
a 3-page flyer.
I just don't want to scare people away. See,
I'll work on a
this
layout.
collection.
Okay, so,
Yeah, because we really have two purposes, as I'm hearing it. One is to general awareness of there is an EDA, and this is what it does, but also that the original idea was to, for people in business or wanting to, considering moving a business, to give them some incentive to connect with us and see how we can help.
Exactly.
If we make that page for the deal, can we put it on the website as well?
yes, but it'll be outdated within a couple months.
Well, it's already outdated. Second Island Bill, open for business. That's been on there how long? We don't even have the chair right, do we? Oh, I saw Julie was on there. Different section.
Okay,
Okay, well, a couple months.
sure. So a question for you guys, do you all get the communicator?
Yes,
And do you read it?
I do.
Okay.
The packets?
Yeah, it
No,
takes up-
the Dayton Communicator newsletter.
Yeah, I read it.
Okay. So what information, as a business owner or employee, what information do you want to know from the EDA when you're reading this?
We
What
have,
do they do? What do we offer?
yeah, we got tools.
What
Okay.
tools?
That's right. That one actually exists, I think that's key. I mean,
And then maybe any projects we're working on too, or have worked on. I mean, we
That
haven't
would
had
be-
a
that would
lot,
be really
but,
helpful.
the flowers in
Well-
the town, we've got this property.
Cubes.
I mean, you could look at the city of Ramsey, that's quite a nice piece, and it's not just about the EDA. It's
Yeah.
about the city, they talk about the city, they talk about, their awards, they talk about demographics, livability, all sorts of stuff.
The communicator's more of a current issues update, really, isn't it? I
Yeah.
mean, these are the
It's
things
news.
kind of currently going on in the city. I mean, at least every time I've read it. So I think we could put a page in there for us that's, hey, you've got an EDA, this is what it does, this is what we've been working on, these are the tools available.
Sound good to you guys? Dave, you all right?
It-
Dave's, I'm just gonna do plurals from now on, Dave's.
I
Hey, Dave's.
agree, for sure.
Okay. Sound good, moving on?
Yep.
John, when we talked about section 6C, this is where everybody on our group here can talk to our council and say, okay, what other questions might you have? This is your Q&A to say, what do we got? I mean, you might have a question about something or thoughts, or now's the time to ask. So I wanted to make sure she had some time to answer what you guys have for questions. Because you don't get to talk to her on a regular basis, so here it is.
Well, I had just a quick question, and this is a follow-up to last month's meeting when you were here, and you had indicated you were going to go take a look at the Triangle property and how Hennepin County has that, how that works.
Yes.
And is there any good news, bad news?
Yes, so, yes, I have, I did some additional research into the statute. I spoke with a representative of the county who said that there was a different bill that, a different law that was passed, an appropriations law. So you probably are familiar with the lawsuit that happened in Hennepin County relating to tax forfeiture property, where essentially the county sold the property for more than what the woman owed on back taxes, but didn't pay her the difference back. So there is a class action now lawsuit relation to that. Hennepin County is in, obviously, the counties that are affected by that. So one of the things that the that happened in this last legislative cycle is they needed to figure out how they were going to pay for this class action lawsuit. And so one of these new laws, the law that the woman at the county was talking about, requires that certain properties that are being held by the county right now need to basically fire sell these, right? We have to get rid of these. We need to get cash into the bucket for the class action. There are exceptions to that, specifically if you're a conservation piece of property, if you're another sort of special designation property, or if you're already out of the Minnesota state trust. So the state has a trust where it keeps all of the property essentially that is sort of waiting to be put back into either private sector or perhaps a public sector, depending. But it's land that's been seized but hasn't been resold yet. All of those property, if you meet one of those three definitions, you're an exception. But everything else is basically supposed to go up on public auction. And so that's been the county's position, is that everything has to go up on public auction. So when she and I have spoken in the past about this, she has maintained that this piece of property would have to go up on public auction. I disagree with that analysis. I believe that there is this property has already been transferred to the city on a use deed. It is not sitting in the state trust. It's not a state trust property. It is a city-owned property with a restriction on how it can be used. There is a different statute that says, city, if you don't, or not just city, but whatever the government entity is, if we give you a piece of property with a use restriction on the deed, and you don't do the thing that you're supposed to do. In this case, it's supposed to be a transit hub. If you don't turn it into a transit hub within 3 years of receiving the property, you are supposed to go back to the county and say, oops, we didn't do that, now we need to buy it from you. And then you would buy it at the fair market value, or the city can choose to give it back to the county. So under the statute, my argument is we're not asking to give it back to you, we just want to buy it. She and I actually have a call with her supervisor today at 11 to discuss further. So that's where it's at right now. I know there's a few other properties in the city that are probably impacted by this conversation as well. There is a few more wrinkles on this. This appropriations law that was passed this last year, that's to create this bucket of money to cover this class action settlement, has a sunset date of the end of 2029. So if you recall the last time we talked, our use deed runs through 2035, 7. So it's a ways out. But this new wrinkle that is the reason the county is saying we can't do what we want to do ends in 2029. So from that perspective, the timeline has shifted from 15 years to 5 years. But I still maintain that I do not think this property qualifies because it's already been transferred to the city. I think it's in a different category and should be treated according to this other statute. So we have sort of a battle of the statutes right now. And like I said, I'm discussing further with her and her supervisor this afternoon.
What's
at
worst
11.
case?
Late morning.
Worst case scenario, council? It goes to auction? Or what's the worst case scenario?
Well, worst case scenario is probably, you do nothing and you wait until 2029 and then you can buy it unless you really want to execute right now. And yeah, if the county prevails in their argument, then it's auction. I just don't, that's not how the law is written. But again, that's my opinion. Ask 5 attorneys, you'll get 5 different opinions about what applies.
Sure, and to buy it, you're referring to buying it at market value.
Buying it, you still have to buy it at market value, yeah.
Whatever price we agree on.
Market value, and I think there's a lot of argument, right, that's going to be, they're going to pull the tax record, right, and they're going to look and see what the taxable value is, and that's generally going to be your starting point for the negotiation. The other piece of this is, I think it's important to understand, this is a city-owned piece of property, and so there would have to be cooperation between the EDA and the city to be able to execute this, because the city is actually going to be the entity that has to go to the county and say, we want to buy this. However, the city and the EDA want to ultimately end up with ownership if it's If it's just a quitclaim deed over to the EDA and there's some sort of agreement in terms of how that's, the compensation on that, the payment on that, that's a separate thing. The step one is going to have to be city tells the county, we want to exercise our rights under this Minnesota statute. Because they are the fee holder of the property right now. Did that answer your question? I know it's sort of a long answer.
No, obviously you've done a lot of work on it, so I think that answers my question.
Okay.
It begs a lot of other questions, to the EDA and obviously to the city council, because, okay, so we have a better understanding of how Hennepin County and what we can do, so, is it gonna take till 2029 to figure out what we're gonna do versus,
I don't think so.
No.
no. But I'm just saying,
We'll just have to see where it goes, that's
Yeah.
basically, I mean, it's wait. Maybe we'll know a little more at 11:30, or maybe we'll know a little more at
You'll report back.
November 19th, 2029.
sure.
Okay. Anybody have questions for council? Any parking tickets you want fixed? Anything? Nothing?
Are the Vikings going to win out?
My son says
Let's go
yes,
wear
they're
my
going straight to the
Packer
Super Bowl.
Okay. Great question. Follow up, let us know. We don't have any direction for you at this point, right?
No.
So we're
There's
just,
no direction yet.
we're spinning our wheels.
Just said you want him to come up with something for the communicator.
Well, this would be something for the communicator, wouldn't it? Is that what you said?
No, for the EDA deal. You want to develop a page to put in
Yeah,
the communicator.
yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's the direction that you would go.
yeah, so far.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, staff, let her roll.
Okay, so new business. So HoliDayton is December 5th. We're looking for, I should say, all the commissions are invited to walk in the parade. I don't know if you have an interest in that. Not seeing any head nods. Also, businesses are invited to have a float in the parade, or it'd be a lit float because it's going to be dark out.
Where's the parade go?
From Balsam down South Diamond Lake Road to Pineview. So,
I do believe we are in there as a company.
yes, that's what I've heard, yeah.
What else did you need?
If anyone else would like to be in the parade.
I'm registered already.
Okay.
You registered?
Mhm.
Elkmeatfarms.com
Is that the
Incorporated?
email that,
I doubt it.
They doubt it? Bring the Chevelle, you can do that.
Huh?
Roll the Chevelle in it.
Well, you could get a couple of them elk and put
Ziegler?
some lights on their
Yeah.
horns.
Yeah.
I'm currently trying to
Sleigh
coordinate,
ride.
my plan is to have 3 pieces of Caterpillar equipment in the parade.
Ooh, nice.
However, I need to get the okay from risk management.
Excavator, we'll pull your way through it.
There is some liability if someone runs across the machine.
So you run some people over.
That's the fun part, right?
Jerky.
Yeah, right. Okay, so Jack, are you doing good on that?
I need to look at it.
Yeah.
I think that's that email from Amy, but
Amy.
I haven't even opened it. Like I said, I'm not been reading emails for 40 days, so
Well, if you're feeling good, I mean,
Yeah.
I get you.
I'm getting better.
Okay. All right, HoliDayton's next.
Okay, that was HoliDayton. Updates on EDA, last meeting, EDA adopted an amendment to the bylaw. Any amendment to the EDA bylaw has to be approved by the council. This was in regards to attendance, so the council reviewed it. The last meeting did not approve it, so that the existing language stands. So essentially, all the commissions can miss up to 3 regular meetings per year. At the 4th meeting, then they would, or 4th miss, they would be removed from that committee.
And the reason they just want to keep it consistent between all commissions.
Yes, consistent attendance.
No, but I
Is
mean,
that kind of the same
consistent
guideline for
language
council as
between
well?
all commissions relative?
No, so the council that, and remember that was discussed when this came up about a year ago. It does not apply to the city council. So when you're elected to the council, you're on the council. So you can only be removed by, I suppose, resignation.
This apply to other
Amanda
commissions?
has- Or what?
Will this apply to other commissions
It
as well?
applies to every commission equally.
Same language,
Yeah, that's what I was
Sorry?
gonna say.
same language.
That was my question.
Same language everywhere?
Yeah.
Did not pass, so, next.
Okay, we discussed the tax forfeit property, so, update. So generally, our office has been pretty busy. Things that we're currently working on that are being reviewed includes an amendment for cannabis retail sales. They'll go to the planning commission in December and the city council in January. We have an ordinance on temporary signs. The third item, Rickard IEP was just removed this morning. We have a residential concept plan for QT farms for pending council approval, so this is coming up on the next council meeting. Dayton Creek Edition was previously discussed by the EDA a couple months ago, so this is a mixed-use project south of I-94. Fisher Farms, an amendment for their interim use permit. Dayton Parkway Master Plan, similarly, it's south of Interstate 94. There's a small commercial component to that. We have the Dayton Parkway Master Plan, which we had an open house for last month on October 15th. As well as a variance for signage for Quick Trip. Let's see, Parkway neighborhood I had discussed, and then Territorial Grove, which is a single-family home project off of Territorial Road and East French Lake Road. And then
What's the variance for signage on Quick Trip? Is that
It's-
the one on 81?
size and height, so.
It's for the trucks,
Quick
huh?
Trip's property, and you can't tell it from a two-dimensional view. This is the proposed Quick Trip property. They're proposing to put a sign here. This is kind of in a hole, so the intention is to have a sign that's 160 feet? 80 feet. Okay.
This
lot
is the
smaller
truck
than that.
stop that you guys originally didn't
Yes.
want, and now have.
So
okay, too?
they're asking for an 80-foot tall sign, whereas the code allows 25 feet, if I remember correctly. 25 feet would still be below the elevation of the off-ramp. So it would not be visible to any traffic on 94.
Plus highway exposure, and what's the flavor on that? Council nod their head?
It hasn't gone to council yet.
You know, I don't know at what point they ask for this. I would rather have them do it before we see it at the council, but I would like to see what their proposed height looks like from surrounding neighborhoods. I mean,
Okay.
obviously, their goal is to get visibility on the highway, but does that mean it's also visible in Corcoran or, points west? I mean,
So the staff report will include a sign study that will show how visible it is from, was it half-mile distance or mile distance?
I think it was 3/4 of a mile at its furthest away was the survey picture that they had provided.
But that's along 94 though, and so your question, can you see it from the neighborhood in Rogers and Corcoran? We won't have that in the staff report. I'm trying to think of anything that's going to be similar. I don't know what the height is of the Sunstone elevator, but that might be, we can try to
We can take a
think
look at
of-
that and
yeah,
see if we
if
can-
I
that's a
think
similar
their
elevation.
architect can do a 3D rendering. I've seen those for other projects where
Yep.
they can show what it looks like to the surrounding neighborhood.
Yeah, it's just a
This
question.
is a variance. They need
Yes.
to provide the information, right?
Can we do it in enough time to get it out in packets this week is the,
Yeah.
A question, the
Council.
city council was originally, I thought, against this truck stop idea, but so now that's changed?
So the first time it came around, more people were against it than for it, and the last time it came around, more people were for it than against it. So it was
Okay.
approved.
So it has changed,
Yep.
okay.
council member, to your question, we can certainly reach out to the applicants and see if they can provide us a little bit more of a reference point of rather distance from the location, given a neighborhood, whether it's Sundance Greens or something like that. If there's potential exposure to those neighborhoods, we can see what we can find.
Thank you.
I think the neighborhoods down on 81 might be the closest, I don't know. I'm not sure.
Their only ask is about a sign, nothing else?
Correct, yes.
Okay. Kind of a straightforward gig.
Good.
And if we want Antero to see it, we gotta really build a big one. We could, it'd be a really big one.
Yep.
Okay, moving on?
Okay,
Is,
what else do we-
what's the place right next to it, Ziegler, right?
This is RDO.
RDO, that's
Yep, and Ziegler's over here.
Yeah. So, I mean, I assume you guys have anticipated that as soon as you give a variance to Quick Trip, the others along there may ask for the same thing.
It's possible.
Yeah. Okay. I'm just saying that I would if I were them.
I would have no problem with it.
Okay.
Do we have any height requirement changes in that area too for a Quick Trip? Building heights?
No,
Nothing with that?
no,
Okay,
not
'cause
for buildings.
I think at one time we were talking about looking at building heights as a correction. I think Zach was on this one way back. We never did move forward on any of that.
We did not, because if they wanted a building height adjustment from what is allowed in the code, they would just do it through PUD. So they would go through a planned unit development project, just like the Cubes did. And so that's a PUD that's actually there. It doesn't follow the code. And so they, by doing a PUD, typically there's a give and take. So we will give on building height, and then we will get something in return as the city. At that point, we got the Dayton Parkway extended from 81 to 117th Avenue as part of that PUD process. So that's all will be done is through a PUD, if a building wants to be higher than the height allowed in the code. So it's not like it's not allowed, but it would just have to be done through a different process.
Any input from EDA for a variance question, Ross?
No.
Okay.
Under construction, currently, we have Dayton Storage off of Territorial Road. There's Opus off of Dayton Parkway and County Road 81. That's the picture that's in the corner here. Sonamico Trading, which I'm not too familiar with, that's off of 81 and Brockton. And then residential projects, we have Brayburn Trails East off of 117th. Riverwalk 3rd Edition off Dayton River Road, and then Sundance Woods 11th Edition, which is over by the golf course. So it's been a busy fall.
Yeah.
I have a question. Is there I heard this, and this may not, maybe in early stages, but I heard Three Rivers may have bought all the homes between Gooden Park and, I don't know what that little road is right there. But
They're purchasing one home off of Lawndale and Dayton Parkway, or not Dayton Park, Dayton River Road.
Just one, so they bought the Yancey home, right? Or
Yeah,
are
in
they
the process.
What about the home on the corner where the guy passed?
That's,
in
I've
process?
not heard anything.
I mean, I'm assuming they're gonna buy all the homes between
Ye-
where Yancey is and the Gooden Park and make that, because then there's, after Gooden Park's all Three Rivers owned anyway, right?
There's one parcel that's owned by Three Rivers Project. EDA Chair and members of the EDA, there's one parcel that's owned on the, would be east side of Gooden Park. But I think
Like
it's pretty.
7 acres, right?
Yes, I think the intention of Three Rivers is to be able to put their corridor of a West Mississippi Regional Trail along the river as much as they can, and try to get it off the road as much as possible, so that's what their plan is, but we've heard nothing from them related to any other purchases of property besides the one that you're mentioning with the end of Lawndale,
Yeah.
which has not been confirmed nor verified yet.
I just
so
heard that it had been purchased. and
it has not finalized yet. So
Right.
They are in discussions, I believe, but that is the only
So
property.
you guys really don't know what Three Rivers' plan is then? I mean, it seems like it would be logical to take everything from Lawndale down to Gooden Park. There's only 2 or 3 houses there.
I think their plans are bigger than that.
Yeah, I think they're,
Yeah.
yeah.
They-
But then you've got Gooden Park, and then you got 7 acres of
And that
Three
will-
Rivers, and then you start getting into the houses that are along where you live, right?
Correct.
Yeah, but it seems like every house that's gone up for sale along the river, they've purchased.
Yeah.
So,
They're-
I don't know that they've written it anywhere, but it seems like the real plan is over the next 50 years to buy
Go all the way
all
down
of the
to
property
Stevens.
under, all the way to Champlin.
Yeah.
Their intention is to keep the trail as far away from the road as possible, as much as they can. It doesn't mean that they won't, purchase easement in front of somebody's house if that's the case, but their intention is to keep the trail as far away from the roadway of Dayton River Road as possible. So if they can buy multiple properties and push the trail 50 feet or 150 feet back off the road, that's their intention.
So I guess my question is it on purpose that they're keeping the city of Dayton in the dark, or is it because we haven't asked to be more informed of what they're doing so that we can, it just seems like this is happening in our city. We should understand what the hell they're trying to accomplish,
Well,
and whether anything that we might do or might not do would either enhance what they're planning or whatever. If we're on board with what they're planning, I guess. It just seems logical to me, but,
You don't like to wait and see.
well, I mean, like if you know that this is their intent, then you may or may not do other things in the city because they're already doing it, I mean, so
They're-
why put a water recreation facility in downtown if we're just gonna be competing with the one that they're putting up on the river? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, no, I think they could be more transparent than they have been.
So it is because we haven't
The master
asked?
plan for that trail does not talk about buying all the property on the river. So
Okay.
that's something that's going on in the background, and when
So-
they were at the council meeting, they talked a bit about they've got Met Council money that they can use for those kinds of purchases, and so it doesn't appear in the project. And I don't think they've been that out front with telling us what they're really doing. But what we can see is that they buy everything that comes up for sale.
Well, and even that doesn't come up for sale, because originally, that guy was not gonna sell. And they came back with an offer he couldn't refuse. And I told him that's what they're gonna do, because they got more money than God. I mean, they've got a lot of money.
Met Council money.
Yeah, exactly.
P.S. That's our money.
Yeah, so.
It's not their money.
The question comes down to just, I guess my question is, are we pressing them or asking them enough to tell us what their plans are? Now, I mean, yeah, they're not gonna I'm gonna buy all the property along the Mississippi River in public notification or whatever, but they may share more with the city of Dayton.
They don't have eminent domain, do they? Can they exercise
Yeah.
that?
They're a public body.
Huh, looks like you'll be busy. Okay.
So
I don't
that's
think,
all.
Chair and members of the commission, their intention is not to do eminent domain. I've talked to them at extent about that, and will they exercise it? I don't even know technically if they have the right to do it, because I think that's a municipality and a county thing. I don't know, because they're a public body, they might have the ability to, but that is not their intention ever to do that. They haven't done it with any properties that they've purchased so far. Doesn't mean that they wouldn't do it maybe in the future, but that has not been their intention. When I mentioned their intention is to keep it as far away from the roadway as possible, is that if a property comes up, they're likely going to be the ones that are going to buy it or would like to buy it. There's nothing at the city that we can do to stop them from buying it either, no different than we can't stop anybody from buying a property.
No, it's not about stopping or anything else. And it's not about eminent domain, because they don't need that.
They
That's
do
all
not,
they
no.
need is cash. And they go into someone and say, your house is worth $1 million, I'll give you $2 million. And, your house, or whatever. And so, the only question I have is, what would they like to see in the future? I mean, what is it, just a trail from Champlin all the way up to Historic Village? Is that all they're looking at, or is there other facilities that they plan on putting in?
So what's their
along the
2050
way?
plan?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, they must have that, and it just seems to me, either A, they won't share it with the city, or B, we haven't asked.
why don't we direct staff to ask that question and report?
I believe
That's
we-
what I'm asking.
Yeah, I believe we asked, and they were was that a July, when I look at Councilmember Solonic or Fashions, is that, I believe they were at either the first meeting in July this year. I believe that was when the date they were here. So you can go back and watch that meeting. They were here and they showed us the map of what they'd like to do. And no different than we have with roadways, it's a fat line on a piece of paper that says they're gonna put a trail from here to here. That's their plan.
Yeah, I wouldn't have,
But
and not that I'm upset about it at all, because I'm not. I wouldn't have gathered that they would have bought those homes, or are planning to try to buy those homes that they're buying from that plan. But, you know, hey,
I think what you can go with is an intention is that they would like to buy every property along the river if it
Okay.
comes available. So that would be what I would use as your guideline or guiding document.
okay,
Good to go on that?
good to go.
Before we bounce, how much does that sign cost, and why don't we have one on the other side of the city?
Yeah, EDA chair and members of EDA.
$56,000.
Yeah, I believe that sign was $60,000, something along those lines. And that would be a council-directed item that we have not gotten direction from.
Well, we talked about at one time,
Readers.
you know, I don't know how far back it was, 5 years now,
Oh, easy.
identifying all the major entryways to Dayton and having a plan to put up some type of sign. You might not do the $60,000 version, but something more than the Boy Scout versions that exist today. And I don't think we got anywhere on it. But, I mean, there's only maybe, I don't know, we'd have to go and look, maybe there's 6 or 8 entry points into Dayton on major roads. And it seems to me we should direct staff or someone to say, what are those 6 entryways? What type of sign would be actually appropriate for those, you know, be it this or something
And
much
do we want
less
the
than
toothpaste
this?
in there, or do we get rid of the toothpaste?
Currently, whether or not you've looked at it or not, but in the CIP, there's $810,000 worth of signs on the CIP,
Okay, then I haven't looked at it,
okay?
so.
There's 60.
Not that we're going to spend $810,000 on
There's
city
60.
signs, because I think it's a waste of money.
What's our balance?
It is in the long-term plan, and.
So you guys
I'd
are
say
on- you're on top of it.
It's fair to say that the council does not have a unanimous opinion about
Oh.
whether or how we spend that money.
I think
Well,
there's-
maybe
I
we
think
should
there's
get an
other
opinion
things
from
that
the
we need
Economic
first.
Development Authority, which may be similar, not unanimous, but it just seems to me if you're a city that's up and coming from an economic development perspective, having nice entry signs on your major thoroughfares into the city is important. That would be my own opinion.
I think that would be a good recommendation to send to the council.
So we're looking
So
for a
I'll make a
motion.
motion, and that was my motion if I need to repeat it.
We have a motion to send to the council that we
I see.
wanted to explore further signs in the key areas of
Key
Dayton.
entry areas.
Okay, so when I think of key, I mean, I'm interpreting it
Coming across
as-
the bridge into Dayton,
Borders.
coming up 121 into Dayton from Maple Grove. I mean, those are just examples, but
Yeah.
they're, you know, maybe coming it down River Road into Dayton from Anoka.
Yeah,
There
I
are,
don't know
I
how
mean,
many
there are
signs
Boy
we have.
Scout signs on a number of those places that have been there
So
for
wherever there's a BSA,
50 years.
no disrespect to Boy Scouts. they do
Yeah,
a great
nothing
job at the
wrong. I
time.
mean, they've served their purpose. They've been there 50 or 40 years probably.
But again, do we want to do this before or after? Do we not want to talk about this toothpaste thing that a lot of people
Yeah,
don't
so
like?
members of the EDA chair, members of the EDA, I think it's a great conversation to have, and whatever the recommendation, I think is fantastic. So I want you to continue on that recommendation and whatever you want to do, but I just want to provide, we did a branding exercise back in 2020. That's where the new Dayton sign came from, and that's what we've been using as the guideline. The problem with the inconsistency of the signage is that not all the council may agree with the current logo or Dayton sign, so putting more money into more signs doesn't make sense unless we're all okay with the branding exercise. It's
So you're
critical
saying
for
that
staff.
there's a disagreement on the branding?
Correct. And I think if there was an agreement on the branding of Dayton, I think it would be more unanimous about the signage, because from a staff perspective, we would like to see consistency with signs, whether that's parks, facilities, entrances to Dayton. The idea that you know that you're in Dayton is critical, and if you look at any other community that's growing, you've looked at Maple Grove over years, they're all consistent signage, you know right where you're at. If you're driving anywhere in that town, you see right where you're at.
I mean,
That's something
I
that
understand
Dayton
we
would
all
like to
have
do, so.
opinions on what we like and what we don't like,
Yep.
but God gracious, how much money did we spend on that whole branding exercise and what we came up with? And you had 50,000 opinions on that, so then, and no disrespect to you, you get one or two people that don't like it and you're gonna change it? I mean, it seems...
That's how the council
Silly.
works, that's correct, yeah. So, I mean, that's, the idea is the
I
council.
mean, every time you elect a new council, you're gonna have another opinion on a brand.
That's it, no more councils. Send that up to council, could you?
Yeah,
I have
so
no
that's
problem
the,
with-
that's the information. I just want to make sure you have all of the information of what's happening.
Yeah.
It has not been.
I
not
mean,
pushed
I
by
call
staff, but-
BS on changing the brand, not because I like it so much, and it's just because you had all this damn input, and this is what you came up with. So you don't take one or two people's opinion and change
Being like our state flag.
$100,000 or $200,000 what you spent.
I don't have a problem promoting Crest, I don't.
Right, okay. it
But I
looks like
don't want to
grass,
spend
but-
$810,000 on city signs when we have all kinds of other things that we can spend taxpayer money on.
Yeah, and I don't want to spend $810,000 on signs either. I think there's 2 or 3 other major thoroughfares
How about
coming
we just
into
start to do it, not just talk
that,
about
you
it?
know, could we start on? You know, one sign here.
Let's move
one
at the city,
sign there.
let's move at the speed of business, not the speed of
I
government.
would like to make a motion to recommend to city council that we begin,
You already made that.
well, no, we didn't vote on it though.
No, I was looking for a
Oh.
second.
Oh, okay.
I don't know that you
Do
can
we
make
have a
motion
second on
on
this?
anything that's on,
One.
not on
Yeah, I'll
the
second
agenda.
it.
Fine, there you go. Okay, all in favor?
I,
Aye. All opposed? Motion
For
carries.
I'm fine.
my clarity, the motion is to recommend to the council that they consider I'm gonna say the replacing signs within the long-term plan.
Yeah,
With it,
That's fine.
I would say to begin to replace the signs on the major thoroughfares into Dayton.
Okay.
You know, it doesn't have to be done all in one year. Just
start it.
It just started.
Yep.
You know, get the major ones, there's maybe 2 or 3.
Yeah,
Well,
so.
yeah.
EDA,
One's major, one is the highway.
EDA, Hayden just looked up this information, but there's 8 current Boy Scout signs that we have in Dayton for entrances.
Was there 8?
So there's 8 of them,
Yeah.
just so you're aware. I mean, we can hit the big ones first and don't
Yeah,
disagree
get the
with-
first
there's
2 or
8.
3 that are most important. and-
Well, down by your store, as you come into the city,
I
there's
think,
one there.
yeah, Dayton River Road coming into Dayton, on both ends maybe, on the Nook end and the other end. I mean, Dayton River Road's the most traveled road
Yeah.
in Dayton. And then you've got probably 121 maybe, I don't know.
Fill in the
what-
gaps later.
Brockton maybe?
how about I-94? I mean,
That's that one.
That's
that's that one on 94, so.
No, that's on the Parkway.
Well,
On the
comes off.
parkway, so people driving down 94,
The bridge has it
It
on
says it right on the bridge.
Okay. Because I don't know if you've ever come down 169 into Elk River. Man, you know you're there
Yeah.
in Elk River.
We did the cheap.
Sean, you good with that?
I'm good, yeah.
Okay, well then, that is our motion. Send it
Okay.
forward. Thank you.
Yep.
Anybody else got anything before we pull this pin? Staff? No. We're not gonna cancel future.
Oh, one other question, I mean, we touched on it. Why does the council not have to have an attendance deal? I mean, I have no problem if we do that, I mean,
Yeah,
if you do the same
we talked about
75%.
that, and I would have no problem with it either. I think that people need to be at the meetings, but it's because we're elected.
That's correct.
Changes the rules.
It's because you are, yeah, so, Councilmember Solonic, the reason is because you are elected, so you aren't appointed, so all the commissions are appointed positions, so
I
they
see.
are
That makes sense.
not elected by the residents, whereas a council member is elected by the residents through a vote, and the only way to remove a council member is by them resigning, or movement. I think there's one other way, I think they have to have a vote of the majority of the council to remove that individual, but I don't know that. Defer to the attorney.
Does it require a felony? Scott, we're gonna need a counter.
No, but it helps.
I'm not gonna
Yeah,
answer that.
it would be a majority vote, or if you have like 90-day, up to a 90-day absence, then there's also a statutory provision that would allow you to be removed by a majority vote as well.
Do you want to thin it back to just one council member on this? Is there any rule against just one?
Rule against just.
On what?
You said one, if we could not have council presence here, is that what you said?
No, that has nothing to do with that.
Oh, well, then I missed what you're saying.
We don't have a restriction on how many meetings we need to attend as a
right.
council.
Right.
I see no problem. What's good for the goose, in my life, what's good for the goose is good for the gander. However, in this deal, it's okay for the goose, but the gander's exempt,
Yeah. Do as they say,
which I
not as
don't
they
tend
do.
to agree with. I mean, in our case, if we miss 6 meetings, then you'd be asked to leave. I mean, I see no reason why I would miss 6 meetings. I'd have to be dead first. And
I think it's consecutive meetings, if I'm not wrong, but it has to be consecutive meetings. So if you miss like 4 and then you make one and then you're back to
Oh, okay.
square one and now you get 6 more. So just want to make sure that's clear, so.
Okay.
But yeah, it's only because they're elected. That's it. That's the only reason.
Is ours consecutive?
Okay.
Is ours consecutive?
No.
It's Thursday.
No, 3.
Is ours just at large?
Yes, correct. Because the individuals on the
Within a calendar
EDA
year.
are appointed. They are not elected.
Point of clarification, wasn't it unexcused absences versus excused?
That was the proposed EDA amendment, but that's not what was approved by the council.
Got it, so council kept it excused or unexcused, it doesn't
Correct.
matter. Oh, okay.
Okay, I'm good.
Motion to adjourn? So moved. Second?
Second.
All in favor? Thank you, appreciate it, motion carries.
Thank you.